Hello and welcome back to Essex News. I'm Paul McLaughlin.
And I'm Pippa Sharp.
And today we're going to be going through a couple of local newspapers. So first we'll look at the Herald Gazette front page.
Here we've got the Herald Gazette, which is a local newspaper, and it's got the main story, which is laid out quite large so that it's quite attractive to the reader. We've got some smaller adverts, they're also local, and some smaller stories which also tells you what page to go to. We're supported by a picture. The colour scheme is red and black, which is quite common for a local newspaper, and the price is also 45p, which is quite cheap, which is also common on a local newspaper. There's some smaller adverts up here, and then there's the date, and there's the website, which is also quite good information for the readers. They know where to find additional information.
If we look at the Hedingham Herald front page, so as you can see here, it's got quite a bold masthead, which is quite similar to the Herald Gazette really, and it's keeping to a colour scheme of red and black, which relates to the village colours, so that's quite relevant and quite common in local newspapers. Here, the main story is quite positive soft news, which it can happen in local newspapers, but it varies week to week, but usually it's soft news. It's got contents down the side just to try and entice the audience into buying the newspaper, and a price of 50p, which is quite average for a local newspaper price. It's also got the weather here, which
has to
also that relates to an older audience. You might not go online and check the weather, so this is quite useful information for them. But also it's got the Twitter account, and where you can find them on Facebook and their local website, so it relates to a young modern audience.
And then if we go on to page 2, we'll find that we've got another main story, which isn't so positive news, but it's similar in the way it's laid out. We've got quite a main picture, a few smaller pictures, and whereas the Hedingham Herald's got the how to contact via Twitter and Facebook, that's got it on the first page. This one's got it on the second. It still hasn't got the weather, but it's got where to find some breaking news, it's got the date, and it's got the contents, which is quite useful, which is quite common in the local newspaper. There's also contact details. It shows who to contact if you want to get in touch with the newspaper, if you want any stories to be pronounced on here. And there's also a smaller story at the bottom of the page to sort of entice the newspaper readers.
If we go into the second page of the Hedingham Herald, we can see that it's got just one story on this page because it's more of an introduction page. This is quite common in local newspapers. So here's quite another positive soft story, and it's also got the contents down the left hand side all the way through from page 3 to page 55. So it just shows the reader where they can find things. It's got an advert down the bottom left as well. It's quite large. This is quite normal in local newspapers. It's also got 2 on the front page, as we see there, down the bottom. And down the bottom right, it's also got a section called Let's Talk, which features where you can place a subscription or place an advert or look for job inquiries. So maybe you could get the newspaper cheaper than 50p each week. This could be a deal for the audience. Or a job inquiry, so like anyone that's buying the newspaper, it may help them out. So it's quite useful to the audience. And that's it for this week, so see you next week. Thanks.
Thank you.